Hey everyone, this is Cindy Reads. I am back just trying to catch up on some book videos. So I'm going to go over what I read in the month of February. So this is my February wrap up. I am going to do the best that I can. I have read, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 1, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 books. I read 40 books the month of February, and it's a short month, so I'm pretty excited. So the first book that I have to share with you is Size Matters by Sam Crescent. So Sam Crescent writes sort of smutty alpha romances. The she writes does a lot of bully romances. I sometimes really enjoy them. This one I gave 3 stars. It was not my favorite. It was a little slow. So the main character, Maddie, has just so many body image issues. I mean, she's bullied by her adoptive parents, and she has never been with anybody because men just don't really want her because she's a heavier girl, which I find hard to believe in this day and age. Anyway, the main character, Hero, he is part of a motorcycle club, I guess, and he has his eye on Maddie. He really cares about her, and so they kind of get together. But he's in the middle of sort of a potential war with another, club, and so he's worried about putting Maddie in danger. He does something pretty mean to her, knowing, her sort of body image issues. And so I would never have forgiven him. I just think he's an ass for what he did. But anyway, the problem I had was a little slow, and they spent a lot of time apart, and she was just a little bit too down on herself to the point where it was just every other word that she really hated herself. And so she had no business getting involved with anybody. She really needed to get a therapist. So I gave it 3 stars. There's lots of Sam Crescents I've read that I've given 4 stars, even 5 stars, but this one was a 3-star for me. Next, I read Protect Your Cowboy by Hope Ford. She's doing a series. This is a 3-star read. It's I think it's going to be 3 brothers, maybe 4 brothers, who live on a ranch, and they meet the woman that they need to be with. And in this one, the main character, heroine, is running away from an abusive spouse. She has a young son, and she kind of has a disastrous meet with the oldest brother who runs a ranch and has a special camp for kids who are interested in the ranch lifestyle, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, he thinks that she's hitting on him. She's just thanking him for the opportunity for her son to be in this camp, and it wasn't going to cost anything, which is great. She doesn't have any money. And then he realizes his mistake later and has to kind of grovel a little bit to get back in her good graces. And of course, the ex-spouse shows up. So it was a 3-star read. I just thought that it was just a bit of a week of a romance. It was just okay. Then I read Rejected Wolf by Layla Silver. It's 2.5 stars. I was thinking maybe I don't like Layla Silver's writing. Basically, I don't know how long ago. I want to say it's like 10 years ago or many years ago. Kai was dating Amita, I think her name is, and they seemed in love, even though he was quite the player. And for some reason, he decides that's better if he breaks up with her because he doesn't think he's worthy of her. So he sets it up as though he was cheating on her. She catches him, and they break up, and she leaves town to go to college. And now she's back in town, and he wants a second chance, I think, but he keeps pushing her away, and it's all kind of, I don't know. It's supposed to be part of this sort of mating agency series, but that comes so much later in the book after they've been together and broken up and been together. I didn't care for it. So I gave it 2.5 stars because I was able to skim to the end. So the next one is A Hating Game. So I know a lot of people read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I started reading this before I had gotten sick, and then went to the hospital, and when I got out, I just was not in the mood. However, I did watch the movie, which I really enjoyed. I've seen it twice now. And I watched the second time with my daughter. So I really, really loved it. So I pulled it out and finished reading it, and I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. Um, it is an enemies to lovers workplace romance. It's like foreplay. They're arguing the little games that they play with each other. It's pretty clear that Josh has a thing for Lucy. Lucy, on the other hand, is very determined to be successful. She comes from sort of her parents own a farm, and so she has gone to the big city to make it big, and she really wants to be a success. But the banter is really great in this. There's a lot of sort of flirtatious moments, and I think it's really a great read. It's very enjoyable. Then, let's see, I read a bunch of audios. I read the Laxmi Harahan Fae series. So I think I did Kidnapped by the Fae. I have my notes here. This month, I think it was Kidnapped by the Fae was the last one. I gave it 3 stars. I mean, they just kind of all felt the same after I listened to them all in a row because it was a box set. This one is, Hawk is Faye. You've seen him have sort of the hots for the much younger Charlie. She is now of age. He's finding his attraction, even though it's clear that they're mates. And of course, there's the whole backstory of this vampire guy who wants to destroy the Fae. So it was okay. I mean, it was pretty sexy, pretty spicy. It just got really old, and I don't know. It was just okay. So it was 3 stars, mainly because listening to an audio is a great experience when you're in traffic. I'm in LA traffic every day, so that was great. And then 3 stars for Big Bad Wolf by Elle Nicole. She does a lot of Insta love. This is her first paranormal. So the main character, Wolf, I think his name is Cole. He meets Tessa when they are young, like tweens, and knows that she's his mate, or feels very strongly she's his mate, but it's forbidden because she's human, even though Tessa's grandmother is part of their elders. So it's clear that she's not really human because her grandmother is part of the clan, but her grandmother does not want her mating with a wolf, sends Tessa away, and doesn't really allow her to come back to town. I forget how long, 10 years. It's been a while, 15 years. It's been a long time. So she finally comes home. It was 16 years later. I think she might have been 13, so not that old. But she comes back. He smells her, knows instantly she's back in town. He tries to kind of fight it because he knows it's forbidden, but then, of course, can't really fight the fact that she's the one for him. And it's just okay, and maybe because I've read so much paranormal in my life that it's got to do a little something different. And this one wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't a great book. Then I reread the Disciple series, which I love. If you haven't read the Disciple series, it is I guess it's like a mafia. I mean, they don't call themselves the mafia, but it's pretty clear that they are. The main guy, he's called Lucifer because he's like the devil, I guess. And he's got all of his disciples who help run the city that they're in. Very dangerous. He's very violent. Everybody, all of his disciples all have their personalities, and they all have their roles that they play. And it is violent and it's gritty. But it's also very insta love. The men sort of know instantly that the woman that they're with is the one. And they take no no's for an answer. But it's good. And it follows sort of a overarching story that they're dealing with somebody who's trying to take over their territory. So is it the Russians? Is it, the Japanese? So we kind of find that out throughout the story. The first book is the best one. It's called, my opinion, it's called Keeping Lily. And the Disciple series is by Izzy Sweet and Sean Moriarty. They are a husband and wife team. And basically, Lucifer, he had lent money to, God, I forget his name, to this guy who basically took off with his money or didn't pay it back, something to that effect. And anyway, he looks at the file and sees this man's very much younger, very much beautiful, gorgeous wife, Lily. And he decides he'll take her. So he shows up at the house, and the husband is a weak, groveling jerk. And so anyway, he basically kicks that guy out of the house, takes Lily and her children, and decides that they're his. And so it's really a great story. It's very gritty. There is some very graphic violence in it and some very sexy times. I recommend it. It's got, I think, 6 books. It's Keeping Lily, Stealing Amy, Buying Beth, Taking Megan, Breaking Meredith, Trapping Sophia. It's been a while since she's written a Disciple, 2 years, but I hear she's working on a vampire, and they're working on a 7th Disciple. So we'll see. Then I read the audio Raleigh Thorn and the Corpse in the Closet. It is a sequel to the first book, which was Raleigh Thorn and the Dead Guy Next Door. So in the first book, Riley, of course, is Dead Guy Next Door. She meets the former detective, now a PI, Nick, and they end up together by the end of that first book. This is an audio that I listened to, but the first book I read. So in the audio, they now work together. And the thing about Riley is that she comes from sort of a paranormal family. They all have gifts. And her gift is she can, I don't know what exactly, it's sort of like she gets premonitions and thoughts and feelings from touching things and being in the same room. She kind of sees things that have happened, which is kind of a cool gift. And so it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, it reminds me a lot of Janet Ivanovich, but better. Like, I think those books got really ridiculous. I mean, the first few were really fun, and then they got kind of silly. But this is, like, better, but it reminds me a lot of Janet Ivanovich. So if you like that sort of type of book, it's kind of what that is. Then I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. 5 stars. The Lucy Score one was 4 stars, but this one is 5 stars. So basically, Evelyn Hugo is a former movie star, and basically she has decided that this particular journalist is going to be the one to tell her story, because she's never told her story. She's telling her story through her meeting of the 7 husbands that she'd had in her life. And it's really, I won't say necessarily about those husbands, but just through those husbands, you get a glimpse of what her life was like, who she was, and what the true love of her life was. And it's really great. So I gave it 5 stars. It's amazing. You should read it. It's definitely not my normal book, but I highly recommend it. And then I read the cheat sheet. I got this from NetGalley. It's by Sarah Adams. It's 3.5 stars. And it is, the main character, Hero, is a football star. And the heroine is the love of his life. They've been best friends, and they've never crossed the line. He's had girlfriends. She's had boyfriends. And you know, he wants to finally make a move on her. They're both single at the same time. And, you know, so the cheat sheet basically is his football buddies making a cheat sheet, which I guess is a term in football for the plays that they do in football. So they make a cheat sheet for him to win his girl. And it's a cute premise. I just think that everybody knew that the hero was in love with the heroine, and so it just seemed to kind of drag on a little bit too long. And it's very sweet. It's just a couple of kisses, and that's about it. A fade to black. So I prefer something a little spicier. That's just my cup of tea. But I have liked plenty of books that are sweet, and this was okay. It wasn't terrible. It was okay. Then I did the audiobook of Mystic Bayou by Molly Harper, and it's part of a series. This is the end of the series, the Mystic Bayou series. I think this one's called, I want to say it's called Farewell to Charms. And it's number 6. And it follows this sort of magical town. The characters all have different magical abilities. And this was not my favorite. She is a gnome. She's giant. He is human. But he grew up in a carnival. So, there you go. And the thing is I just didn't feel the connection between them two. And it's just not sexy to know that she picks him up in a bridal carry. It's just, I don't know. I didn't find it. It wasn't my thing. So I gave it 2 stars. I didn't love it. So then I read, finally, Crescent City. I am slugging through the next book. This one is House of Earth and Blood. The other one is House of Sky and Breath. I'm in the middle of reading that one. I think I'm finally on page 300. These books are almost 800 pages. They are something. So I gave this book 5 stars. I mean, just the world building, introducing the characters and figuring out who they are and what they do. I mean, definitely is making this next book easier, even though they've introduced us to more characters. But I think there's going to be 4 books, I think, because there's 4 houses. So I think there's going to be 4 books. That's my guess. So I'm on book 2. I'm in the middle of reading that. I was supposed to finish reading it in February, but I didn't even get to start it until March. Just busy and ran out of time. But basically, she is, what's her name? Bryce. Sorry. Bryce is she is half fae, half human. She doesn't really know what she can do, really. Her father basically refuses to acknowledge her. She does have a much older brother who is full fae, and he made a mistake many years ago and hurt her feelings, and they haven't ever really made up, even though her brother really does want to make up with her. He loves her and does a lot of things to protect her behind the scenes. Hunt is a fallen angel. He had been part of a rebellion that failed, and he got punished for centuries for his part in that. He is a slave, and he is owned by the archangel that's the head of this house, Micah. And basically there is a murder that happens, and it involves all of them and sort of their future. So it's hard to really talk too much about the book because you can talk all day about it because there's a lot going on, a lot of characters going on, a lot of creatures who can do things going on, and it's great. It does not end in a cliffhanger. I have read that book 2 does, but this one does not. So it kind of resolves the story. So I think it's a good one to read if you don't want to read another one. And then I read I'm Yours Baby by Fiona Davenport. That's an Insta Love 2-star read. I think I'm getting bored with 2-star reads. So Aspen has a sexy weekend with a CIA operative. He doesn't really disappear. He leaves her with an email to contact him. And so she leaves an email because she finds out she's pregnant, and he doesn't get a response. So almost a year goes by, and he shows up at her door and realizes that she has a baby. Whose baby is this? And realizes that something went wrong, and that whoever was supposed to be helping him stay in contact with the world really didn't do a very good job of it, because this woman that he really cares about had his baby alone without him knowing. So that's the story. And someone's trying to sabotage the relationship. I don't know, it's 2 stars. It's okay. Let's see. I read Reclaiming His Mate by Rosa Mink, 3 stars. So Meeting as Children, the main character, she was found, and she actually changes into a wolf and saves Brian when they're children, and she's adopted by one of the people one of the couples in their pack who can't have children. And they've been in love with each other, but she doesn't believe that they're mates because she hasn't felt the mating call. He insists that they're mates and he wants no one else. She ends up leaving because she knows that, you know, the alpha, his father, will not allow them to be together. He has somebody else in mind and he wants him to marry someone else, to be with someone else. But Brian won't give up because he knows that she's the one for him. She ends up leaving and running into her actual birth family and finding out that she was stolen, and that she comes from a very powerful family and she's the daughter of an alpha. And I don't know, can't remember how they ended up back together. They do stay in some contact with each other, but it's like 2 years before they see each other, and he's remained very faithful to her. And I think at that point they realize that they are twins because there's a secret as to, or not twins, that they're mates. And there's a secret that's unveiled about why she didn't feel the mating call. And they are mates. So the second half of the book was boring. You know, like I felt like it could have ended there once they find out they're mates. But that next part after that was boring, and that's why it got 3 stars. And then I read Bite Marks by Jenica Snow. And so this was my book of the month for being her Patreon. And I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. So it's part of the Lycan series. And in this one, the parents of the Lycans in the previous books, the mother's, it's just their uncle, it's the mother's brother, is the guy in here. And he's a vampire. He's a very kinky, sexy vampire. He sees the main character, knows she's the one for him. And of course, there's this group that's trying to take the paranormals out, and she gets kidnapped, and he's there to save her. It's great. Very, very kinky, very sexy. A great addition to the series, which I've enjoyed. And so we meet the characters that are going to be in the next book. So that's Bite Marks. And that was 4 stars. And then Not the Witch You Wed by April Asher. This was a 5-star read. This is a second chance romance. So she's a witch. He's a wolf. He's the like leader of the wolves. He's an alpha, the alpha of the North American pack. She was supposed to be the prima, or the main witch, take over for her grandmother, but she has no magic. So her sister has to take over. So they decide to fake date, even though Wolfie is, his name's not Wolfie, but I forget what his name is. Can't remember what his name is. She's Violet. Oh, he's Lincoln. He has always loved her. They broke up because of something that happened that he had no control over, but he's been magicked, so he can't tell her what exactly happened. So she thinks that that he hurt her, and he can't explain why. But anyway, they have a connection, a very, very strong connection, and finds that she has magic after all. So I really enjoyed it. It's 5 stars. Meet Me in the Margins. That was a 4-star read. I really like this book. So it is a sweet romance. So when I said that I actually do like sweet romances, occasionally there's one that's really good, and this one was very, very good. So Savannah works as a assistant editor for a very small publishing firm, and she is writing her own romance novel, and she has an opportunity to have someone really important to look at her work, and that person says that her manuscript needs lots and lots of work. She's very depressed about it. There's a secret room in the publishing house. She leaves her manuscript there because she has to go meet the new owner. I guess he's the son of the owner, and now he's taking over the publishing house. When she comes back to the secret room, she finds that her manuscript has been torn apart by a mysterious editor who's written all kinds of comments and notes and suggestions for making her manuscript better. So through the passing of the manuscript back and forth, they find, there's like a little romance that blooms. And it's a really cute story. I really enjoyed it. I did give it 4 stars. It was very readable. I got it from NetGalley, and it was good. I recommend it. Then I read another book I got from NetGalley, which is 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's called 10 Rules for Marrying a Duke by Michelle McLean. So the older sister elopes and marries a very unsuitable man. And the middle sister is afraid that that is going to ruin the chances of the youngest sister finding a good match. The middle sister has no interest in getting married. She just is keeping things together. Their brother is, you know, oh, do you have a brother? No, this is why he doesn't have a brother. I'm sorry. So anyway, what she does is she approaches, I'm getting confused in the book. Her name is Arabella. She approaches Silas, a duke, who she thinks that they make a good match because he needs an heir and doesn't really want to be, you know, attached to a wife really. So they decide that they're going to have a marriage of convenience. They're going to get an heir, and then he can go on his merry way, and she can go on to go live in the country, and they'll be happy. And in the meantime, he's going to use his connections to help her sister find a good match. But it's pretty clear that he really likes her. Silas really likes her and cares about her. And so it's kind of hard for them to not find a way to be together because they have a lot of chemistry, and you know, Silas really cares about her. It's a good story. 4.5 stars. I don't want to give it away too much. Then I read a 2-star read that has been everywhere as being a great book. Everyone should read it, and it was terrible in my opinion. That is One Night on the Island by Josie Silver. I did not like this book. I cannot recommend this book. I got this from NetGalley. Don't recommend it. So approaching 30, Cleo, she lives in England. She's a British person. She has like an advice column, and she's going to marry herself when she turns 30. Basically, it's the whole idea of affirming her identity. So she goes to this island, and unbeknownst to her, the place where she was supposed to stay has been double booked. And so now she has to share a place with this guy. And that's creepy of itself. It's a weird kind of setup. But, you know, he's married. So, yeah, he's been separated for a year, but he's trying and wants to be with his wife. He wants their family back, misses his children. So he's not really a viable candidate for a romance. And so it's not good. It's not a good setup. It's not a romance, not when a man is married and still attached to his wife. And so I hated it. I did not like it. And it gets 2 stars for me. So I think that's being kind. So it's not a romance. I don't like it. Then I read Wolf Gone Wild by Juliet Cross, 5-star read. Never read her before. I so enjoy this sort of unique take on mates and sort of paranormal. And this is another book with a witch with a wolf. So he has been the main character. God, what is his name? I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, the main character, the wolf, he's been hexed, and he keeps hearing his wolf, whose name is Alpha, keeps sort of taking over, and he's experiencing a lot of aggression. He knows he's been hexed. He doesn't know what to do. He's been referred to this witch. She is part of a very powerful witch family. They all have special gifts. And this witch's gift is she's known as a hex breaker. But she can't break this hex. She needs help from her sisters because whoever hexed this guy gave him some serious bad mojo. The wolf has claimed the witch is his. It's very clear he thinks that she's his mate. But he says very sexy, inappropriate things in the man's head that are pretty funny. And it's great. I really enjoyed it. It was very unique. The main character, Hero, was very, very sweet. His wolf was very alpha and very sexy, and it was a great read. I really enjoyed it. It got 5 stars. Then another 5-star read I read is When He's Dark by Suzanne Wright. So Suzanne Wright is like my favorite, probably paranormal romance writer. Um, she has a different series that are all connected. So she has the Mercury Pride and the Phoenix, or the Mercury Pack and the Phoenix Pack. They're interconnected, and then those stories are sort of interconnected with the ongoing Olympus Pride series. So this is book 3 in Olympus Pride. The Pride is palace cats, which are cool, powerful. So in this particular one, so actually I reread all of the series because the 3rd book came out. So I should go back and tell you that the first book is When He's Dark. The second book is When He's an Alpha. And then the 3rd book I read, I'm going to save for March because I actually technically read it March 1st. So I'll save it for March 1st. So I reread it in preparation for book 3, which I've been looking forward to for so long. So When He's Dark, I think she's a palace cat. Bree, her fated mate, has left, assumed dead, and he was kind of psychotic, very psychotic. And so she's glad that he's left. Anyway, she is hoping that she can find a chosen mate. She has her eye on Alex. He is God, I can't remember, not a Tasmanian devil. He's like some kind of scary shifter. And his mother is Wolverine. He's Wolverine. And his father is a palace cat. So he's part of this Olympus Pride. But he comes and goes. He's much older than Bree, but he definitely feels a very strong connection with her and wants her. And I think he's decided to finally make her move, especially when her life sort of becomes in danger. She's kind of like stopped. It's a great story. I recommend it. It's fabulous. The second book, When He's an Alpha, is when Alpha Tate takes over for his father, Vinny, takes over the Pride. He's engaged in a sexual relationship with the main character, Havana, who's a loner. She really has fallen for Tate, but knows that there isn't any future for them because Tate doesn't seem to want anything more from her than sex. And so she breaks up with him, and Tate's upset. He's not ready to break up with her. And so he tries to get back with her, and she's targeted by a group that is kidnapping lone shifters and selling them. So she's kind of targeted and gets seriously injured. And he realizes that he really, really cares for Havana and wants to make amends for not really pursuing a relationship with her sooner. So it's very good. And then the 3rd book came out. This is being filmed in March, but it came out March 1st. I think it came out February 28th. And I started it February 28th, and I finished it March 1st. I think technically it's supposed to come out March 1st, and it was so good. So I'll review that next month. 5 stars for all of the Suzanne Wrights. Midlife Wolf by Ruby Knox is 3 stars. So I don't really care for this one. So, Nadine lives alone. She has a bad history with her mate who hurt her. He had abused her terribly. And then when he died, the people in the town blamed her somehow for his death. So she lives on the outskirts of town. She is attacked by some bears who are under the influence of the Goblin Gold. And she's saved by the main character. They have sex, and apparently they fall in love. But I don't know. It was just whatever. So 3 stars. And then I read a whole series. I forget what they call it. It's like Romancing the Sheriff by Mia Brody, Romancing the Silver Fox by Chloe, Romancing the Quarterback by Eve London, Romancing the Mountain Man by Kat Baxter, Romancing the Billionaire by Fern Fraser, Romancing the Cowboy by Nicole Rose. They're all between 2 and 3 stars. And basically, it's this group of romance writers who have a Valentine's Day weekend, and they each meet their love interest. And they were insta-love, and they were just okay. And then I read My Father's Boss by Fiona Davenport. 3 stars. It's insta-love. Much older lawyer falls for his colleague's daughter, who is still in high school. So it's a little bit creepy, and they have a clandestine relationship under the nose of her father. I guess so it's a taboo romance. It was just okay. Never as Mates by Sarah Spades. 4 stars. I really liked this book. It would have been 5 stars, but I didn't care for how it ended. So, I mean, no one dies, but I didn't care for how it ended. So it got 4 stars because of that. But basically, Jem leaves her mate in the town because her alpha rejects her. And so her mate, and she's known that they're mates since they were young, but he had never really acknowledged that they were mates. So she leaves town, ends up under the protection of Vampire, and works at this bar when her mate shows up and says, it's time for you to come home. I want you back. And so there's something going on with that town, with that clan. And so we find that out. But I liked it. I liked the chemistry between the characters. I sort of liked the things about her and the vampire. I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed her with her mate, Alpha, I forget what his name is, Riker, who had waited for his mate. He knew that she was his mate for a long time. He just didn't want to say anything. So it was good, but the end was, 4 stars. I read an audio, Faithless in Death by J.D. Robb. I read them all. I think this is 53, 54. It's in the low 50s. And they're all good. So it's been a while since I've listened to them, so I had a few to catch up on. But so a woman is found murdered in her apartment, and it appears to be related to a cult and human trafficking. It was good. It's nice to just be able to jump into a story. Like, I already know the world, I already know the characters, so it's pretty easy to just jump right into the mystery, and it just starts right immediately. And it was good. I really liked it. And then Dark Lover, I feel like I read Dark Lover. I have this super beat up copy. I had bought a box set, and I did not realize that this book was falling apart, dying, but I read it. And I think I read it, but I didn't finish it. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. Now, you have to understand this book was written almost 20 years ago. So it's going to be a little bit dated. I know that I read some reviews and people had said a lot of stuff about it that I didn't think was fair about it, because, if you're reading it with 2022 eyes, it's going to feel a lot different than reading it in 2000 and, I don't know, this is 5, I think. 5. It's from 2005. Okay, so I enjoyed it. So it's book 1 of the Brotherhood. Beth is a half-breed. It doesn't know, but she's a half-breed. Ends up meeting the king of the Lycans, who's been tasked with protecting her because her father is killed before he can let her know that she's a half-breed and she's going to turn into a vampire. And he instantly feels this super strong attraction because they're basically mates. But he has to keep her safe. So it's good. 4 stars. I enjoyed it. That's it. That's 40 books that I read for the month of February, and I am off to a great start for March. Anyway, thank you for watching. This is Cindy with Cindy Reads.